Hello sports fans, it's me, Sportsman Z, and welcome to the third game of the 1979 American League Championship Series. So far the teams have split one game apiece through the first two. The pitcher for the home team California Angels for this game will be Jim Barr, and there's his card. And the pitcher for the visiting Baltimore Orioles, will be Dennis Martinez, El Presidente, and there he is. So, let me get the proper tokens over here. And let's see. I think that's it. Yeah. Okay. So, I think we're ready to go. And so, without further ado, let's just get started with Al Bumbry coming up and batting against Barr. And he gets a 6-11, which is a fly ball to right field. The right fielder for the Angels today is Dan Ford, and he's a 2. And that's a 3. That's going to be something bad for the Angels. 3 and 2 in the outfield is a safe at second on error. So Bumbry will be aboard on an error by Dan Ford. And Bumbry coming into this game was hitting 125, and that's not going to help him with his batting average, but at least he's on second. And Ken Singleton, who is hitting 429 in the series with a walk, a home run, a run batted in, and a run, is coming up to the plate with a man at second base. And he gets a 5-9. Which is a pop out to shortstop on Barr's card. So he got on by an E9, and he got a pop out 5-9, pop out to short. So he popped out to 6, and that brings up Eddie Murray. Eddie Murray's hitting 375 in the series with a run scored, and that's a 4-8. That's a fly ball, left field B. Fly out to 7. And Gary Renicke's up, and Gary Renicke gets a 2-9, which is a single 1 to 14. And that is a single. So now the Birds have runners at the corners. And 2 out, and that brings up Lee May, and Lee May is gets a 6-9 roll, and that's a fly ball center field B, and he came in hitting 125, so that won't help him any. And that was a 6-9, which is a fly ball center field B. So fly out to 8. Baltimore gets no runs in the first, with the Angels coming to bat. Rod Carew comes up, and Rod Carew surprisingly is only hitting 125 for the series. And he gets a 6-7, which is a ground ball to the shortstop on Denny Martinez's card, and the shortstop is Belanger, and he's a 1, and that's going to be an out. So he goes 6-3. And that brings up Lansford, and Lansford now is hitting 566 for the series, the best hitter on either team so far. And he gets a 1-7, which is a ground ball short. So he also bounces out 6-3. And then that brings up Brian Downing, and he gets a 2-7, which is a strikeout. And that's the first strikeout for either pitcher. And no runs come in for for California. And we have a 0-0 game going to the top of the second, and Doug DeCinces at the plate. And he gets a 1-8, which is a ground ball third base A. 5-3, and he had no batting average, and he still doesn't now in the series. Rich Dower comes up, and Rich Dower gets a 4-3, which is a ground ball shortstop, and the shortstop for California is a 3. That's Jim Anderson. That's a 13 and a 3, which is a one-base error on Jim Anderson. So that Dower gets on by an E6, and we have to give the error to Anderson. And that's 2 errors already for the Angels in this game. And Rick Dempsey's up, and he gets a 1-8, and that is a ground ball third base A, which is a double play. 5-4-3, double play. No runs come in. The error does not hurt the Angels. And that brings up in the bottom of the second, to lead off the bottom of the second, Don Baylor, the DH. And he gets a 1-9, which is a home run. Don Baylor takes the ball out of the park. And that's going to be the first run of the game. And he came in hitting .250, so that's going to help him. And that's a run and a hit allowed by El Presidente. And the Angels lead at 1-0. And that brings up Bobby Grich, the second baseman. And he gets a 6-3 on El Presidente, which is a fly ball left field. The left fielder for the Orioles is Gary Renicky, and he's a 2. And that's a 6, and that's an out. So fly out to 7. And then that brings up Danny Ford. And yes, and there's only 1 out. And he gets a 1-6, which is a walk. So Dan Ford gets a board. Dan Ford gets a board. And the first walk given up by El Presidente with a man on. Only 1 out. And Rick Miller steps up. And Rick Miller is hitting only 125 for the series. A lot of the Angels, the Angels' batting averages are terrible except for Lansford, really. Miller comes up, he gets a 3-7, which is a single 1 to 13. And that is a, oh yeah, this is California. So that's going to be a line out to first base for Rick Miller. Line out to 3. So there's now 2 away. And that brings up Larry Harlow. And Larry Harlow has no record so far. He came on in the last game for Joe Rudy, who was injured for the rest of the series. And Harlow gets a 6-6 on El Presidente, which is a strikeout. So Denny Martinez strikes out his second man. But the Angels do strike for a run on a home run by Don Baylor. And that brings up Mark Belanger, who hails originally from Pittsfield, Massachusetts. And he gets a 4-5 on Jim Barr. And that's a home run 1-2 or a double. And that's going to be a double for the Pittsfield, Mass native. He gets a double. Hit allowed by Jim Barr. And Al Bumbry comes up with no outs and a man at second and a 6-10. And that's a fly ball center field. The center fielder for the Angels is Rick Miller. He's a 2. That's a 10 and a 2. And that is an out 5. So there is 1 away. And that's a fly out for Bunbury. Fly out to 8. So with a man still at second and only 1 out now, Ken Singleton comes up, and Ken Singleton gets a 4-9 on Jim Barr, and that's a single 1-3. And that's going to be an out, line out to first base. Line out to 3. And that brings up Eddie Murray, and he gets a 5-4, and that's a single. So Eddie Murray gets a base hit, puts runners at the corners. Third hit allowed by Barr. And Gary Renicky up, and he gets a 1-5, which is a strikeout. Jim Barr getting his first strikeout right there. And the Birds not able to force a run through. And it's still 1-0 Angels. In this very pivotal game in a best-of-5 series. And Jim Anderson steps up, and he gets a 2-7, which is a fly ball left field. Fly out to 7, 1 away. Rod Carew gets a 6-6, which is a strikeout on El Presidente. Third strikeout for Martinez, and that brings up Carney Lansford, and he gets a 4-7, which is a ground ball to second, and that will be Dower, and Dower is a 2. And that's a 14. Gonna have to check that one. 14 and 2 is an out. So Lansford gets out, and the Angels go in the third. They go down with no runs. We go to the top of the fourth. And that brings up Lee May, the DH. Came in hitting 125. And he gets a fly ball center field B. Fly out to 8. So he still is hitting very abysmally for this series. And Doug DeCinces comes up. He gets a 4-9. And that's a single 1-3. And that will be a line out to first. Line out to 3. 2 outs. And that brings up Rich Dower. And he gets a 5-7, which is a double 1-9 or a single. And he gets a single. So Rich Dower on first with 2 outs. Fourth hit allowed by Barr. And Rick Dempsey up. And he gets a 4-5, which is a home run 1-2 or a double. And that's going to be a double. And let's see who that runner is. That's Dower, so I think probably they aren't going to send him. That's going to be my... Although they do have Belanger coming up, so... But Dower's a 1-12, so they're going to let Belanger hit. I mean, he got a hit last time, so they're going to have to hope for the best here. 4-8, and that's a fly ball to left field. So he does not get a hit. And leaves 2 men stranded. And now we go batting California with Brian Downing up. And he gets a 5-4, which is a fly ball center. The center fielder is a 2. That's a 5. That's going to be a 1 away. Fly out to 8. 1 away. And that brings up Don Baylor, who hit the home run, and he has the only run so far, and that's a ground ball pitcher B. So 1-3, 2 away. And Bobby Grich. And Bobby Grich gets a 2-7, which is third base, and that's an out 5-3. And no runs for California. And this game and this series has really been this tight pretty much in every game. And we've got Al Bumbry coming up in the 5th. He gets a 2-9, which is a fly ball center field B. 1 away. Ken Singleton's up. He gets a 1-5, which is a fly ball left field B. And that brings up Eddie Murray. Eddie Murray gets a 6-2, which is a fly ball right field B. So, flyouts to all 3 outfields. Make the Birds go down 1, 2, 3. And that brings up Dan Ford in the bottom of the 5th to lead off the bottom of the 5th. He gets a 2-11, which is a ground ball shortstop A. 6-3, 1 away. Rick Miller gets a 3-8, which is a walk. And first walk for El Presidente, or no, second walk. And Larry Harlow comes up in for the injured Joe Rudy, 4-4. That is a walk. Or wait a minute, 4-4. No, that's a fly ball left field B. So 2 away. Or no, yeah, 2 away. Fly out to 7, and then that brings up Jim Anderson, the shortstop. And he gets a 3-7, which is a single 1-9. And he will be lining out to second base. 4-3, no runs. It stays 1-0 Angels going to the top of the 6th. And Gary Renicky up. He gets a 1-6, which is a ground ball third base A. So 5-3, 1 away. Lee May is up. He gets a 6-7, which is a ground ball shortstop. So the shortstop is a 3, and that's a 17. I'm guessing that's an out, and it is. So Lee May, 6-3. And then that brings up Doug DeCinces, and he gets a 1-5, which is a ground ball shortstop A. So 6-3 for him. Bottom of the 6th, 1-0. Still anybody's game here. Rod Carew up, and he gets a 1-5, fly ball center field B. I'm sure the Angels expect a little more from a lot of their hitters, but especially Carew. And then Carney Lansford's up. He gets a 4-8, and that's a fly ball right field B. And that's 2 away. And then Brian Downing gets a 4-9, and that's a fly ball center field B. So they fly out to the outfield 3 times, and no runs across. We go to the top of the 7th. Baltimore has only 3 more at-bats potentially to tie this game or go ahead. Rich Dower up. He gets a 4-9, which is a single 1-3 on Barr's card, and it's really a line out to first base. Line out to 4. 1 away, or line out to 3, sorry. And Rick Dempsey's up. Rick Dempsey gets a 3-5, which is a single. Barr giving up the 6th hit of the game. Belanger's up, and he gets a, if that stops moving, I would know, it's a 4-7, which is a strikeout. Only Jim Barr's 2nd strikeout. And Al Bumbry's up, 3-4. Ground ball first base B, that's 2 away. So, fielder's choice. And then Singleton gets a 5-5, and that is a fly ball right field C. So no runs for the Birds in the 7th. We go to the bottom of the 7th. Still a 1-0 game. Incredible. Incredible game here. And Don Baylor up. Don Baylor, the man who's made the only difference so far in this game, gets a 5-5, which is a triple 1-4 or a single. And he gets a single. And that's only the second hit given up by Denny Martinez, El Presidente, and both of them have been to Baylor. So Baylor's been a thorn in his side a little bit here, and Bobby Grich is up. 3-5, which is a fly ball left field, one away. Oh, wait. Yeah. So 1 out, man on. Dan Ford up. He gets a 4-12. Ground ball, first base C. And Rick Miller is up with a man at second and 2 outs, and 6-7 is a ground ball shortstop, and that is the man from Pittsfield, Massachusetts. And that's a 1 and a 1 at shortstop, which is an out. So Rick Miller is gone. 6-3. Top of the 8th. Eddie Murray, they're down to just two shots at it right now. He gets a 3-11, which is a walk. And that brings up Gary Renicky. Gary Renicky gets a 110, which is a single. So now all of a sudden the Birds got a little action going on the bases. And that's the 7th hit given up by Barr, and they're going to look at the bullpen situation. See what they got. See what they might be looking at. Really, they don't have very good relief pitching. In fact, they have terrible relief pitching. They really do. The Angels had terrible relief pitching. I mean, that's not going to make it any better. Mark Clear is about the only guy that could potentially come in. And he's going to start warming up, but he's probably not even really a better option than Barr anyway. So Lee May is up, and he gets a 6-3, which is a walk, and that loads the bases with no outs. The Birds are all on the bases. And the Angels they're the home team. They're going to play back and hope for the double play. Doug DeCinces up 4-9, which is a single 1-3 or a line out to first. And that is going to be a line out to first. So DeCinces is out. Line out to 3. 1 down. And they're going to bring in Clear. So Mark Clear comes in for Barr. And Mark Clear pretty much had to go to the distance because everybody else in that Angels bullpen is terrible. And Barr goes 7 1/3. Gives up 7 hits, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, and so far, no runs. And Rich Dower is up. They're still going to play back and hope for the double play. He gets a 3-4, and they got the double play. So it's a 1 to the pitcher. So it is a 1-4-3 double play, and no runs come across. Mark Clear gets them out of one of the worst predicaments that we've seen by either team in this series so far. And now Larry Harlow is up in the 8th for the Angels, and he gets a 2-9, which is a strikeout. And a strikeout by Dennis Martinez. Jim Anderson gets a 4-5, which is a fly ball left field. Fly out to 7, and that with 2 outs, there is Rod Carew, and he gets a 3-5, which is a strikeout. And again, Rod Carew not having a Rod Carew type series. And we go to the top of the 9th, and here it is. I mean, this is it. And again, you've got the bottom of the Orioles order coming up at probably the worst time, because that happened, I think, in Game 2. And Rick Dempsey is going to bat against Clear. He gets a 6-7, which is a strikeout, 1 away. Clear with his first strikeout. And that brings up Belanger. There he is, Belanger, not the guy you want batting right now. So they need a run. They're going to go back to their bench, and I believe it was Pat Kelly who pinch hit last game, and he is going to do it again. So Pat Kelly, the pinch hitter for Belanger. Don't know who the shortstop will be if this game goes past this, but that's something for the Orioles to worry about once they've tied the game. And that is a 4-9, which is a single 1 to 10, or a ground ball to the shortstop. And that is going to be a single. So Pat Kelly gets on with a single. First hit allowed by Clear. And Al Bumber's up, and he gets a 4-8, which is a strikeout. So 2 away. And it's all up to Ken Singleton. Not a bad guy to have to leave it up to, but he gets a ground ball third base X, and the third baseman is Carter Lansford, and he's a 2, and that's a 16, and I think that's going to be an out, and it is, and that is it. Singleton bounces out 5-3, and the Orioles lose incredibly 1-0. So 1-0 on the Don Baylor home run puts the California Angels up 2-1, and they could rewrite history themselves here. But for me, Sportsman Z, that's going to be it. And I am signing off from California. We will see you in Game 4.